I recently have noticed that we've had significant increase in the number of subscribers. So we want to thank you for your interest. And because there seems to be some continuing speech restrictions going on with some of the platforms, you may want to come to one of our other platforms that may have more information that we can share with you than what you're seeing now. One of the experts that we have, actually two of the experts that we have great respect for, on the fundamental side is Alistair McLeod, and on the technical side of prices is Michael Oliver. There was a very recent podcast where both of them were talking about the same thing, which is in large part, what's the outlook for silver? And came to the same conclusion that the outlook for the price of silver is excellent for some of the reasons that we all know about. Perhaps the most important reason is that silver, as well as gold, have been in a deficit position, that there's more demand for silver than there is supply. And on top of that, you have increasing interest in terms of government, not so much perhaps from the situation of finance, as in the case of gold, where people are saying, gee, we want to have gold as our reserve assets, but actually in terms of national security over in this case of silver, because silver is very important to defense in terms of being part of missiles and other weapons of construction. And so you have countries like the United States and Russia and China that are saying, hey, the amount of silver we need is more to have our national security and have our defense forces well in tune. So those things are going on as we speak. And secondly, we have, according to Alistair McLeod, and I think he's absolutely right, a long history of saying that how successful are you if you're a government that likes to print paper in convincing people, well, you have this piece of paper called a dollar bill, and that's money. How successful are you in having people trust that that paper money does in fact have value? And the answer in today's market, according to Alistair McLeod and also his technical friend Michael Oliver, is the amount of trust is declining. And therefore, that's another reason why the price of silver will be going back up, is because what is really going on is not so much silver or gold going up, but those paper dollars, the paper currencies, going down. And in that environment, I think that is going to continue. Michael Oliver has felt that if you look at the price action over time, he has sometimes talked about a new reality, that silver, which literally for decades was suppressed to never go above $50 an ounce, and just in the last literally months has moved well beyond that, can now move to the point where, for example, if you look at the price of silver as a percent of the price of gold, with gold at 5,000 roughly an ounce, and you get a normal situation of perhaps taking 30 ounces of silver to buy 1 ounce of gold, well, you could see that you would get $150 to $200 worth of silver just by getting back to a normal relationship to gold, and there are other factors as well. So we salute both Alistair McLeod and Michael Oliver, as you will have a chance to read, on telling us all, be careful of how much value you give to paper currencies, and why don't you do what the Romans did 2,500 years ago and say, what is money? Money is gold and silver. If you want a copy of my book, The Speculator's Mosaic, just check below
or it can also be bought on Amazon.